I continue to keep telling people, be careful who you have your kids around. The little boy that you guys see on my screen was taken advantage of. He has special needs, and he needed somebody there to be able to watch out for him. And if you look at this guy right here, his focus was not on kids. He should have never been around kids. His focus was on everything except for being a responsible human being. Let me give you guys the fair warning about my channel before we start talking about this content. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And I like that name. So what did we learn? Let's talk about this story. I'm getting this story from people.com, so thank you for the article. A Michigan man who was accused of killing his girlfriend's young son, who clearly had some issues. So he's got some issues, I'll say that. He has special needs, and this boy was drowned. Can we get our hashtag? Where's our hashtag? Where's our bathtub hashtags? Not another bathtub story. Yes, another bathtub story. Matter of fact, you'd also have to ask, why is this man who's not this child's father dealing with this child in a bathtub? For some reason, like that always seems like it has a sexual connotation to it. He drowned this boy in a bathtub, and he's been found guilty for his role in the boy's death. So he's been found guilty. That's no longer allegedly or an accusation. On Monday, a Macomb County jury convicted Hunter Locke-Hughes, who's 22 years old, of first-degree child abuse and involuntary manslaughter, according to a press release shared by the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office. Locke-Hughes was acquitted of a felony murder charge, because that would have been premeditated. But I think he still intended to do this, which is why they were probably trying to get the premeditated murder charge. He's scheduled to be sentenced on March 13th, which is coming up here in just like another month, and faces a life sentence for the felony charge, the felony child abuse charge, and up to 15 years behind bars for the involuntary manslaughter offense. Locke-Hughes, then, who was 19 years old, was accused of holding the 6-year-old boy, a baby. You cannot be this level of dumb. You can't. So this man held a 6-year-old boy with special needs underneath water in a bathtub, identified by the family as Terry Adams, and the son of his girlfriend held him underwater as he was giving him a bath on December 28th of 2021. Why is he bathing this child? That's just weird. According to the Macomb Daily, I don't care if it was a woman. I wouldn't want a woman bathing my son or my daughter. Not gonna fucking happen. Excuse my language. I said I was gonna try to be good and not cuss. But y'all know how I get. I get real irritated because I'm not a newscaster. I'm just a concerned father, okay? I've raised children. I have 2 children I'm raising. Also got 2 daughters that I'm raising. And I can't stand the idea of somebody abusing my children. Somebody who is not their parent bathing them, not going to happen. According to the Macomb Daily, prosecutor said Locke-Hughes became upset because the boy was not cooperating during his bath and vomited after his mother left. Prosecutors also claimed Locke-Hughes held the boy down in at least 6 inches of water per the outlet. Terrence had reportedly been suffering from Charge syndrome, a genetic disorder which, according to the National Library of Medicine, is an abbreviation for coloboma, heart defects, atresia, Chene, growth retardation, genital abnormalities, and ear abnormalities. According to the Macomb Daily, citing prosecutors, the child left the boy unable to talk, blind him. Oh, the condition, excuse me. The condition left the boy unable to talk, blind in one eye, and requiring a feeding tube. My apologies. I read that wrong. An autopsy report stated that Terrence had 15 to 20 bruises on his head, as well as more on his shoulder blades and back, which prosecutors believe were caused by the boy's fight to stay alive. In a later interview with police, Mom's boyfriend, Locke-Hughes, allegedly confessed to holding the boy underwater by his shoulders, but asserted that he kept the boy's head above water using his fingers, prosecutors said, per the outlet. The defense argued that Terrence drowned in his own vomit during a 6-minute period while Locke-Hughes was on the phone with the boy's mother and 911. However, prosecutors said that the drowning occurred before the call to Terrence's mother was made. A medical examiner reportedly testified that the boy was likely dead by the time first responders arrived at the scene because paramedics had trouble opening his jaw. Now, according to the Detroit News, the medical examiner ruled that Terrence drowned, but listed his manner of death as undetermined, citing how it was unclear as to how the boy got into the tub. So the mom's boyfriend probably ended up telling on himself because he had to explain that. According to documents cited by the Detroit News and interviews with relatives, Terrence's family had contacted CPS on several occasions after suspecting the boy was being abused while under the care of mom's boyfriend. So they saw something and said something. 3 CPS investigations were open, but none resulted in any permanent changes. Now the boy's dead. So now what do you got to say, CPS? Another failure. In court Monday, Shannon Grabowski, Terrence's aunt, spoke on behalf of the boy's the father's family, saying that they were grateful for the guilty verdict. Larry Hughes' attorney, Dan Guerin, also told Macomb Daily that he plans to file an appeal on behalf of his client. That's just normal behavior when you're trying to protect your quote-unquote client. Grabowski's GoFundMe page, which sought donation to help Terrence's father, Gary Adams, acquire legal representation for custody of his now 4-year-old daughter, Emmeline, had garnered more than $2,700 as of Tuesday. Let's talk about this GoFundMe by way of the biological father. I want to know from you guys, would y'all support this GoFundMe? This GoFundMe, from what I understand, is not really about the burial of his son. This is about him trying to acquire funds to get custody of his other child. So I'm going to read to y'all what it says. Shannon Grabowski is the organizer of this fundraiser. And it says, I'm asking for help for my nephew, Gary Adams, and sister Dawn Val Joseph to obtain legal counsel to take the mother, Ashlyn Bethel, to court regarding neglect and child endangerment that led to the murder of their son and grandson, Terrence Adams, on December 28, 2021. They're also fighting to have her parental rights removed and have the remaining child, Emmeline Adams, now 4 years old, returned back to the home of the grandparents, Dawn, Michael, Joseph, and Gary Adams, the father. They have now fought over 2 years to get justice for sweet disabled Terry for the neglectful actions the mother, Ashlyn Bethel, took and the murders on December 28, 2021 by Hunter Locke-Hughes. Fortunately, a jury in Macomb County convicted Hunter Locke-Hughes of first-degree murder and manslaughter yesterday. Unfortunately, Terry's mother, Ashlyn Bethel, was not charged, and not only was she not charged, she took the stand and actually defended her ex-boyfriend. Let's stop right there. I don't need to hear nothing else. They can't lie about that because that would actually be court record of that. So I believe that that's the case. And I believe that if you guys want to support that GoFundMe, I think it actually does make sense. If they get the money to hire legal counsel, pay a lawyer, get custody of that other child, I don't think the mother should have custody. So I think they're doing that correct. Let me give you guys the fair usage. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And I'm curious to know, like, would y'all support that GoFundMe? Because I actually would. I think that would probably be one that people should support. But do me a favor and please click that thumbs up if you're watching. I want y'all to hear from the biological father. This is the biological father of that boy. Hear from him.
Terry was my best friend. So every day it just get harder and harder.
The father of a 6-year-old disabled boy found dead last December at this Clinton Township condominium complex wants justice for his son, Terrence Adams.
I'm happy that he's behind bars, where he need to be at.
Gary Adams is talking about this man, Hunter Locke-Hughes, who was in court Friday. Police tell Fox 2 that after months of investigating this incident, detectives were able to submit a warrant request to the Macomb County Prosecutor's Office on Thursday, and charges were authorized by the prosecutor. On Friday, the defendant was arraigned on several charges, including homicide, felony murder.
This is a felony punishable by life without parole.
Yes, sir.
The defendant is accused of the unthinkable.
The defendant is alleged to have held a 6-year-old disabled child under the water, which caused the drowning, which is the causation of death.
Gary says his son was partially blind, had a heart defect, and wishes the boy's mother had never left his son with the suspect.
I just want to get justice for Terry.
In court Friday, the defendant's attorney requested a bond for his client, who he says has no prior record.
I think a cash surety bond in the amount of $50,000, 10% would be appropriate. We, of course, have no objection to others and no contact with the witnesses.
But the prosecutor's office advocated for something much different.
Held without bond pending pretrial.
After hearing both sides, the judge made this clear.
I am going to set the bond actually in $1 million, cash surety only. If bond is posted, I am going to require house arrest, GPS tether.
The father says what's so heartbreaking about this tragedy is that it could have been avoided.
Be careful who you let wash your kids.
In Clinton Township, Ingrid Kelly, Fox 2 News.
Right now to Clinton Township, where this man you see here, Hunter Locke-Hughes, is behind bars after being charged with the murder of a 6-year-old. It happened back in December, with the charges coming after a lengthy investigation. Let's get right to Priya Mann. She is live tonight on The Story, and I understand, Priya, this child had disabilities.
Yeah, that's right. He was nonverbal, he was partially blind and partially deaf. To give you a sense of just how heinous the allegations are, the defense was asking for a bond of $50,000. The judge set it at $1 million. And now the defendant, Hunter Locke-Hughes, he is charged with first-degree child abuse and felony murder.
I'm praying every day. I'm waking up. They're just going to tell me it's a joke. It's just a bad nightmare.
Gary Adams' son Terry was disabled. He was nonverbal, partially blind, and relied on hearing aids. His mother's boyfriend is accused of drowning the 6-year-old just days after Christmas.
To holding my son underneath water for over 5 minutes to drown him because he was being bad in a bathtub.
Do you understand the charges against you?
Yes, sir.
On Friday, Hunter Locke-Hughes was arraigned on charges of first-degree child abuse and felony murder.
When I found out that they gave him a $1 million bond, that did make me feel a lot better.
Terry lived with his mother here at Fernhill Manor in Clinton Township. That's where police were called on December 28th. Before the little boy was killed, Gary says he and others had repeatedly called Child Protective Services.
Happy daddy home?
He was my best friend. Me and him did everything together.
A heartbroken father says he was at work when police told him his son was critically injured.
The doctor came to me, told me, "Sir, we did everything we could. I just want justice for my son. That's all I want. I want people to know his story to hear what happened, and I want justice for him.
And Gary says he and others repeatedly called CPS, telling them that Terry had broken bones and bruises and that there were several open cases involving his son. He says he tried to do everything he could to get custody of little Terry, the defendant, back in court later this month.
Okay, now we have somebody in the chat who asks, why doesn't he already have custody? Because I'm just going to assume, not really knowing that portion of the story, it's probably like most men's story. Just naturally, the mother who gives birth to the child has custody, and that's right out the hospital. So if a mother gives birth, naturally she already is considered the custodial parent if they're not married. Just flat out. The only time when a father is considered to be equal right off the bat is when they're married, when they're in a marriage relationship. That's usually what it is. But the father is usually facing an uphill battle when it comes to stuff like that. So considering the fact that I'm actually a legal father 2 times over, I kind of understand how that process works. So nonetheless, I think that the money that they're asking for the GoFundMe, I think, is actually valid. I would love to see people actually support that GoFundMe, and I hope and pray that they do the right thing. Just get your legal counsel and fight for custody. Get custody and just take care of that kid. Because if you ask me, this mother cared more about her boyfriend than she did her own child. This wasn't the first accusation. And the last accusation actually was the worst because it actually ended up costing this baby his life. This man only cared about having sex with the mother. That's it. That's all he cared about. The child looks like his father, and I continue to tell people it's a dangerous thing to put a person around your child that you didn't create that child with, because they're going to see that the person that you just got done sleeping with, they're going to see that person's face and they see that man or that woman. And there's just not enough good people out there that can handle that responsibly, especially this fool. He just don't look like a responsible person in the face. But nonetheless, if he gets a life sentence, max him out. I think that'll be awesome. So I'll be looking forward to see what his final sentencing is. But to that little boy, RIP. To the father out there and to the family, continue to fight, get justice, and get custody of your other kid, okay? Thank you guys for listening to the story. Share and leave a comment. Thank you.